The Manuscript of Survival Part 429, November 9, 2014. Once more we would like to take the opportunity to thank you all for the way that you continue to embrace these ever-evolving and rapidly unfolding sequences of events that were initiated during the week of gatherings that took place a short while ago in Crete. Again, this was indeed something that involved a much larger number of participants than those collected under the same roof or even in that specific geographic location. For not only was that crowd more than outnumbered not just by all of the otherworldly beings that came together in that same space at that same time period, for in addition, a whole host of souls took part in what can only be described not just as a global but also as a truly cosmic affair. For in this, we can in no way overstate the importance of what took place during that 1 week period of staged events, for it was indeed something that had far-reaching repercussions not only geographically but also time-wise. You see, as you entered that time period here on this planet, you also entered what we can only describe as a pocket, or perhaps bubble would be a better word for it, of linear and non-linear sequences of time, all coming together for the very first time in such a way. What was undertaken during one of them affected also those more free-flowing ones. So what took place during that week of coordinated events did not simply affect life in your timeline, it also managed to literally jump over into other and far less linear concepts of time than the one you are all currently experiencing. Let us explain. You see, during this period, the sea of time can be likened to a frothy foam, one where individual bubbles of cosmic time are thrown together, seemingly haphazardly, but with a carefully orchestrated plan behind all of it. And so, as you went about putting into action those seemingly small and unconnected pieces of the puzzle that you as individuals were given to carry out during that same time frame, what you did had a far-reaching effect. One that literally crossed over into so many other sequences of hitherto unconnected timelines. And so, as one spark may jump from one cable to the next without any parts of them having any direct contact at all, what you set into motion in your timeline affected so many other timelines as well, setting off a veritable firestorm of interconnected events that in turn served to sever that hold the old world had not only on you, but also on your forebears and indeed your children's children's children in an ever-widening ripple of time sequences. So again we can only say thank you not just for your willingness to step forth when asked to do so, but also for your tenacity. For this was not a one-off thing that was concluded as that week was concluded. No, this is to all intents and purposes an open spiral that will continue to unfold and evolve as your timeline continues to roll out, and every day you add another layer of intricately wedded pieces to this spiral, making it ever wider so that it in turn can encompass ever larger swathes not just of humanity, but of all of creation. Again, we know that our words will be met by hesitance and perhaps even incredulity, but let us just remind you of this simple fact: everything you do now is connected to everything else that was shaken into motion as you set forth to set yourself free. And as you finally managed to open that hitherto closed door that stood between you and the new, you created such a huge surge of energetic realignments that it can only be likened to the most complex of what you describe as the domino effect. But in this, more pieces were set into motion than any record-breaking event that you yourselves may have witnessed on your TV screens or anywhere else. For what was previously unconnected has now become connected in a very new way, and for some of you, the results from all of this coming together has already become more than obvious. For now, you are truly multidimensional and multifaceted beings, capable of traveling at a speed that far surpasses the speed of light and capable of feats that would seem to be more than impossible just a few short weeks ago. For as you decided to step across that divide that separated you from the new beginnings that you have hankered so for, not just during this lifetime, you also ignited so many of the underlying layers that are contained within your own merkaba of light. You each became like a veritable troupe of time acrobats, all contained within that single bubble of existence that carries your signature. We know that this will be more than a little bewildering for most of you, But let us simply say that as you became one by stepping into the new, you also split into a myriad of parts that individually will continue to carry out the work that was set into motion by that one single yes you gave not only to yourself but to all of creation. You see, you are indeed more than just the forerunners, you can also be likened to the special forces, beings capable of carrying out a wide range of tasks that crosses over any and all borders of abilities, and unlike the rest of creation, you can do so while currently being housed within the confines of that seemingly frail human body. Not only that, your ability to split into a myriad different compounds at the blink of an eye can only be explained by diving into the field of fractals, and yes, we do mean that in a very literal way. And so, we do think that a large number of you are already beginning to understand in what direction we are trying to direct your focus. For even if many of you still will struggle just trying to take in the magnitude of what has taken place energetically over the last 2 weeks, we know that there are some amongst you who have already started to literally tap into this never-ceasing source of numerical information that you can now access, and that is housed just within your own energetic field. For as that door to the new was opened and you gave yourself permission to access it, you also gave yourself permission to access the totality of your being. And as you did just that, it began to not only unfold, but to multiply in a way that can be likened to the sequence of a fractal equation. In other words, your field of influence and your field of intercommunication started to come alive in such a way, it will actually continue to unfurl itself in all dimensions, and before you get lost in this billowing sail of seemingly impenetrable information that we share with you now, know that you are more than capable of not only accessing, but also in controlling this formidable source of information. For you are old hands at this, remember, you were chosen for this very task because you are the true experts in this combination of linear and sequential computations that in turn gives birth to a very fluid movement of energies, one that is capable of penetrating every single barrier of time that has ever existed. Again, we speak in convoluted terms, but the significance of what we are sharing with you is simply this: you have access to your mainframe, to use a word that will perhaps help to explain the force field we speak of, and through accessing this, you will be able to recompute the underlying algorithms that control the timelines in your area in such a way, you will be able to literally figure out how to reset them all in such a way, the past, present and future will become one single fluid sphere of interconnected information. And when that system is fully set, you will no longer have to contend with any of the old programming that still clogs up some of that interstellar space that you inhabit. In other words, you are not only masters of love, you are also masters of time, in ways that will be hard to fathom in that single-dimensional layer of your being, but that will start to seep into the other and far more advanced layers of your consciousness at an ever faster rate. And when this begins to permeate your being more and more, even those human parts of you will begin to truly take this into the equation. Again, we like to play around with the words, not to add to the confusion but simply to allow the deeper parts of your consciousness to begin to fall into place so that it in turn can begin to focus more on the tasks ahead. For they are indeed many, and they are in their very nature so complex, you have little or no ability to truly understand them at your current level of capacity. But as we have already told you, the motion that was set into motion just a short while ago will continue to increase not only in speed but also in magnitude, and so, what was incomprehensible just a short while ago will begin to be not just understandable, but also doable in every sense of the word. For you have come to the stage where what you do will literally help to change not just your world, but so much more of this vast interconnected fabric that constitutes all of creation, and in that sense, you are indeed masters of the universe. And before you begin to think that these words carry within them some rather ominous echoes from the past, let us simply remind you that when we say masters, we allude to the fact that you are at heart nothing but light, and through your many sojourns here on planet Earth, you have finally stepped into your true roles as masters of love, and it is through this capacity that you now can begin that last and most impressive part of your assignment, to recreate the fabric of the universe through your willingness to let this newly acquired expertise of love permeate all that you come into contact with, and through that, setting off the vibrations that will bring everything else into tune. It may sound like a task too large to fulfill for anyone, let alone a group of human beings recently arriving within their own self-created space of harmonics, yet, it is nothing less than what you are about to embark upon, and there is no one in all of creation that have any doubts at all as to your abilities to succeed at this. For in this, nothing has been left to chance, so we will simply remind you of this: what is to come has already come to pass, but in order for it to truly become, you must take all the necessary steps that have been set up for it to come into being. And for that, we could not have picked anyone better suited than that glorious group of souls that have come together on this little sphere of light that you call Earth, but that the rest of us simply refer to as Genesis 2.0.